Welcome to What is Truth, brought to you by the Southern New Mexico Church of God in Las Cruces, New Mexico. What is Truth is a weekly program which seeks to focus our attention on the truth of God's Word. Now, with this week's lesson, here's Pastor Meyer Stahl.
Welcome to the program. I'm Meyer Stahl, the pastor of the Southern New Mexico Church of God, bringing you the program, What is Truth? Now, our program today is part 3, What is the Day of Atonement? And each of God's holy days are prophecies. And 2 of those 7 prophecies have already been completed. So are God's holy days prophetic? That's the title of the program, and the subtitle is, What is the Day of Atonement? And I'm going to explain now type and antitype. But first, we're going to offer you 2 very important booklets today. And the first is God's Holy Days. There are 7 holy days. Did you know that God has holy days that reveal His plan of salvation? And each of these are prophecies, and these prophecies are coming about very quickly. So you're going to want to read these booklets. They're important. Now, the second booklet is, Why Were You Born? Do you really know why you were born? Were you born for a purpose? Do you realize God has a purpose being worked out, and may I add, for you? Most fail to understand that purpose. Read this booklet. You will be surprised. I'm telling you, you're going to be surprised when you read this booklet. These are 2 very important booklets. They're free. There's no cost. There's no obligation. We never ask the public for money. And all you need to do is call 575, area code 650-7359. Why don't you have a pen and paper ready? We'll announce it again, and you could write it down and order these 2 very important booklets. Okay, now we're going to the Bible. We're going to Leviticus chapter 23, and that's where we find all of God's holy days in Leviticus chapter 23. And we're looking today at the Day of Atonement. Now, it says also on the 10th day of the 7th month, that's on the lunar calendar, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and you shall afflict your souls. The way you afflict your souls is you fast. No water, no food for 24 hours. And we'll skip the offering made by fire. We no longer do that. Verse 28, and you shall do no work in the same day, for it is a day of atonement to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. So God used Jesus Christ's sacrifice to make an atonement for each and every one of us in the world. This is an amazing sacrifice. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day he shall be cut off from among his people. Well, God is serious about this day. And whatsoever soul it be that does any work in the same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. You shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be a Sabbath unto you, a Sabbath of rest, and you shall afflict your souls. He wants us to fast. In the 9th day of the month at even, that's at sunset, from even unto even, from sunset to sunset, shall you celebrate your Sabbath. So this is very important. The Jews keep this day. Even the non-religious Jews keep what is called Rosh Hashanah, which is the first day of the 7th month. And this is the 10th day of the 7th month. There are 10 days between each feast, or between these two feasts. Okay, now we're going to find out more about this feast as we look in Leviticus chapter 16, and we'll start in verse 1. And this is very unusual. Takes place here. And the Lord spoke unto Moses after the death of his 2 sons of Aaron. They offered up strange fire. And when they offered before the Lord, they died right there and then. And the Lord said unto Moses, Speak unto Aaron your brother, that he come not at all times into the veil, into the holy place within the veil, before the mercy seat, which is upon the ark, that he die not. For I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat. He could only go once a year, and that was on the Day of Atonement. Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and the linen mitre shall he be attired. These are holy garments. Therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on. And he shall take of the congregation of the children of Israel 2 kids of the goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering. Verse 7, And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, 1 lot for the Lord, and the other lot for the scapegoat. Now they did this not understanding why they were doing it. They just did it. They were told to do it, and they did it. Now there's reasons why they should do it. I'm going to explain that to you. And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell. This is the Lord's lot. And offer him for an offering. So we'll hold it right there for a moment. The first goat represents Jesus Christ. So we're going 2,000 years into the past to his sacrifice. He died on the cross on AD 31 on the Passover day. Now, let me explain the Passover day. On the Passover day, back in Egypt, when the children of Israel were under bondage, they would kill that goat and take the blood and smear it on the doorposts and the lintel. And the angel of death would pass over those houses where the blood was on the house. Now, wherever the blood wasn't on the house, the Egyptians, the firstborn of the children died, and the firstborn of the cattle died on that evening. So this is important to understand. Now, today we look at this backwards. We look at this Old Testament coming up to the New Testament, where Jesus Christ was sacrificed for the sins of the whole world. Now the second goat. Let's look at the second goat. Verse 10. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat. Let's go to the Bible here. Shall be presented alive before the Lord to make an atonement with him and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness. So we're going to hold it right there. A strong man, it's called a Geber, would take that goat and pull that goat. Goats don't generally want to go where you want them to go. They have a mind of their own. But a strong man would pull that goat and take him out to the wilderness where there was no food, no water, and naturally the goat would die. Now that goat, the second goat, represents Satan. Now let me show you the scripture that we need to look at. It's Revelation chapter 20, and we're looking at verse 1 in Revelation chapter 20. And here we are. Revelation chapter 20, verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up. This represents this desert area. And set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. Now we're going to go to verse 4 to explain to you what is going to happen at the very beginning of the 1,000-year period, the millennium. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus. If you go into certain countries today and you start witnessing for Jesus, you're going to lose your head. And for the Word of God. Sometimes you just bring a Bible in and you lose your head. And which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. Now we'll stop there. I'm going to explain this to you. There are 7 days in a week. And 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7 talks about 6 days, talks about 1,000 years as 1 day, and 1 day as 1,000 years. So there's 6,000 years of man's rule on this earth. Man can elect his own governments, his own religions, his own systems of educational systems and all kinds of systems, and God basically has hands off. But the 1,000 years, man rests, and God is in control, and God rules for that 1,000 years as a contrast. 6,000 years of man's misrule, 1,000 years of God's rule, and there's going to be a great contrast between the two. Well, we're going to take a short break. Please don't go away. We have so much more to share with you. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Cisneros. This is the heart of our city. It's neither what it once was nor what it should be. Downtown has been declining for years. The city response has made it harder to turn things around, making it difficult to simply improve a building instead of allowing the lawless to take over. I promise to bring a new vision and to fix it, welcoming small businesses and residents back. I love Las Cruces. I want our families to feel safe and enjoy downtown like we used to. I will work day and night to make that change. To do so, I need your support.
Hello, I'm Eloy Francisco Macha, candidate for School Board District 3. It is paramount for our schools in preparing our students for their pursuits, including university, trade school, or direct work, amongst others. Our school system needs to continuously meet the needs, skills, and demands of the evolving modern workforce. Join me in accelerating the modernization of our school systems to further prepare our students for the workforce of the future. I'm Eloy Francisco Macha, School Board District 3.
Welcome back to the program. In case you tuned in late, our topic today is, are God's holy days prophetic? This is part 3. The subtitle is, what is the Day of Atonement? Now, all these holy days are prophecies. Only 2 of the 7 of these holy days have been fulfilled yet. The third holy day is the Feast of Trumpets, and that pictures Jesus Christ coming back as King of Kings. Of course, that hasn't happened yet. Now, before Christ comes back, there is a great war taking place. Now, I have it in my book, which I wrote several years ago. It's called World War III Coming Soon. I'm going to explain quickly the 3 wars that are going to take place. Let's look at the first in Zechariah chapter 14, and we'll start with verse 1. Behold, the day of the Lord comes. This is the day that Christ is coming back. And your spoil shall be divided in the midst of you. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. Not at one time. There'll be 3 basic battles that will take place. And the city shall be taken, the houses rifled, women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth. If you want to know when Jesus Christ is coming, you'll see the battle at Jerusalem. It's called the Battle of Armageddon, but it takes place in Jerusalem. Armageddon, or Armageddon, is the place where the forces come together, where they all meet, and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. There shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. The reason this Mount of Olives is moving north and south, it's moving north to crush the army that's in Armageddon, or Armageddon, which is north of Jerusalem. And other scriptures talk about blood being as high as a horse's bridle, which is roughly 5 foot high. There's a wall of blood. These people are caught in the winepress of God, and they're crushed. Now, these are 10 nations coming from Europe, and we find that in Daniel chapter 2. Now, in Daniel chapter 11, we're finding the king of the south, which is fighting the king of the north. The king of the north is Europe, 10 nations in Europe, and the king of the south is the Muslim nations, 10 Muslim nations coming up from the south, and they are also going to be crushed by the other half of the Mount of Olives, and there'll be a wall of blood going south about 5 foot high. Wow, that's going to be some battle. Let's go to verse 9. So, and it says here, and the Lord shall be king over all the earth, and in that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. And it says, verse 12, and this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. So Jesus Christ fights differently than anyone else, and it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hand, every one, on the hand of his neighbor, and the hand shall rise up, his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah, that's the Jews, also shall fight at Jerusalem. And the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold, silver, and apparel in great abundance. Wow, this is going to be some battle. The second battle is going to take place. I'm just going to make a reference to it. It's Psalm 83. So when you get the opportunity, read the entire Psalm of 83, and you're going to find out more Muslims are going to fight. They want world domination. Starting out, the 10 nations in Europe want world domination. World War I was fought for world domination. World War II was fought for world domination. And World War III is going to be fought for world domination. These nations don't want Jesus Christ to rule. They want to rule. So the Muslims are coming back up to fight. Watch what's going to happen in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. Read the entire chapter, and you're going to see. Now we're going to Isaiah chapter 9, and we're looking at verse 6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. What form of government? It's a kingdom form of government. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God. Jesus Christ is the mighty God. And when you read John chapter 1, you find out in the beginning was God. All things were made by him, and there was nothing made that wasn't made by him. The everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. We're going to have a period of peace for 1,000 years, and it's going to be just absolutely wonderful. Of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. We're done with the scriptures, and I want to do some explanation that's going to help you to understand all of this, to put this all in perspective. Now, first of all, you can go to YouTube. You can go to YouTube and you could type in, "What is Truth?" with Meyer Stahl. And you could watch the other two programs, part 1 and part 2. And even part 3 will be on there next week. And you'll be able to put this all together. Now, it's important that we understand that God's holy days are prophecies. And these prophecies, every single one of them, will come true, will come about. And we may even live to see most of them come about. And I have here in my book several chapters that I'd like to tell you about. The first is Apocalypse, World War III, first phase. The Christ, the Antichrist, and 666. World War III, second phase, peace in the world. World War III, third phase, the Battle of Gog and Magog. The millennium, it deals with the rest of the dead. It deals with mansions in heaven, the secret rapture, and what is a Christian. So we're going to do part 4 next week. Please don't miss it. And until next time, this is Meyer Stahl of the Southern New Mexico Church of God saying goodbye, my friends.
You have been listening to What is Truth with Pastor Meyer Stahl of the Southern New Mexico Church of God, located in Las Cruces, New Mexico. For copies of today's lesson or for more information, call area code 575-650-7359. That's 575-650-7359. Join us next week at this same time for another edition of What is Truth? Until next week, we wish you God's richest blessings.